Newcastle today seems to have a squeaky clean reputation to the outside world, but it does not take long to see a more grisly truth about one of the UK's former steel hearts of the industrial era, which is actually where our story takes place, as we look at the execution of Ambrose Quin. The subject of our story was born in 1890 in the northeast of England, and reportedly had a normal childhood for a working class boy in late Victorian and early Edwardian Britain, and like many boys of his time, he would get married at a relatively young age to a woman by the name of Elizabeth Ann Ridley in the early to mid 1910s, and would go off to war after being called up in 1917 as a mechanic for the RAF. Due to it happening in broad daylight, the murder was seen by multiple witnesses. However, instead of trying to go on the run and make a break for it, Quin turned himself in later that day to the police and gave an admission of guilt. Whilst there is no clear reason for why he did this, it can be theorized that he did it in the hope that he would get a lesser sentence for willfully going to the police, rather than having them hunt him down. During the questioning session done by the police, Ambrose Quin reportedly said,
"Well, she went to the pictures too often, and she wore too much powder."
which was enough for him to suspect her of being adulterous and claim that he had felt this way since
1917, after I have just gone off to the war.
He would be sentenced to death by hanging at the infamous Newcastle jail in early November 1919, and to say he was disturbed by the prospect of his death is an understatement, with a fellow inmate, Ernest Scott, in a visit with his family, stating that, "Do you hear him? He's been doing that for a fortnight. I've been constantly singing to cheer him up, but it's no use." After roughly a month in jail, Ambrose Quin was called by the officers towards the gallows to which he would be hung from for his crime, behind the prison walls, alongside another convicted murderer and his cell neighbour, Ernest Scott. The first time a double execution had happened in nearly 20 years, with Mr. Scott to be hung at 8 a.m. and Quin at 9:15, with reporters for newspapers such as the Newcastle Evening Chronicle giving quotes on the events, such as, "No bell was tolled and no flag was exhibited. The prison bell did not even strike the hour of 8. Like every other prisoner held at the facility, both Scott and Quin were buried inside the prison walls, and were the last to be executed at the site before it was demolished in 1925. Ambrose is memorialised at the War Memorial of St. Stephen's Church and Vicarage as a war veteran.